Exploring death. An incident occurred when I was still in school which made me deeply intrigued by death. I was 13 at that time. I was a fairly unusual child in school, but usually no one dared to tease me because I would beat them up. But there was this girl named Sucharita who was a little crazy, and for some reason she'd go on teasing me, Juggy the Great, Juggy the Great. I was irritated, but I ignored it. Once after a school vacation, she did not come back to school. Every day, when her name was called during attendance, some of us would squeak out a female voice and try to answer her attendance for fun. This happened for a few days. Then, this girl's brother, who was a junior to us by 2 years in the same school, told us that his sister had died of pneumonia during the vacations. That really freaked me out. Not because someone had died, but because someone who was alive and here with us had vanished just like that. I became deeply intrigued by this. This girl was my age, doing many things in class, and she was suddenly gone. They said she was dead, but I wanted to know where she could have gone. Until then, to me, it was only old people who died, but being in my age group, the girl had brought death to my doorstep. Now it was no more a curiosity question, but a very existential one. I wanted to know where the hell do people go when they die and what happens after death. I had already asked these questions to many people even before this incident occurred. I had also spent a lot of time in the cremation grounds in the town, but still I did not know what happened after death. So I thought I would undertake a journey to death myself and see what happens. My father is a physician, so he had a medicine cabinet at home. I knew there were lots of medicines in it. Among them, I found a bottle of cardinal sodium. It's a kind of barbiturate that can put you to sleep. The bottle was supposed to contain 100 tablets, but when I took them out and counted, there were only 98. Someone had opened it and used it too. I thought 98 tablets should be strong enough a dose to cause death. Next, I went through my cupboard. I had some money and lots of personal property like marbles, catapults, and a few bird pets, which are of great value for a young boy. I decided to give them all away because I was going to die anyway. Some things I gave to my brother, the rest I distributed among my close friends. I told them I was leaving. They all thought it was one big joke. Then one day I decided that I would do it that night. I did not eat my dinner that night because I knew if there was food in the stomach, these things may not work very well. I told my family I was not hungry and went to the terrace with the tablets. I popped in all 98 pills and just went to sleep, hoping that I would know where all the dead people go. In the morning, they did everything to wake me up, but I would not wake up. Usually, it is always a little hard to wake me up in the morning, but this time I just did not wake up at all. Then my father saw that I was limp. Everyone became terrified and took me to a hospital. They did a stomach wash, put me on oxygen and all that, but I did not wake up. For 3 days I was lifeless in a deep sleep. On the third day I slowly came awake. Still lying down on the bed, I slowly opened my eyes. The first thing I saw were the rafters in the ceiling above the bed. Immediately I recognized where I was. I had seen those rafters many times before when I had visited my father at the railway hospital where he worked. So there I was, lying in a bed in his hospital with all kinds of tubes sticking out of me. It was very frustrating because I had gone through all this trouble hoping to see where one goes after death, and all I see are the damn rafters at the railway hospital. That was a desperate attempt to know what happens after death, but I had learned nothing about it. The only consolation was that I learned that this was not the way to know. Later, I managed to bully my friends into returning most of the stuff I had distributed to them, and life carried on. Many years later, when I was a young man living life at my cocky best, a deep experience came on us that changed my perspective about life and death completely. On one warm September afternoon, I was just sitting alone on a rock in Chamundi Hills. I had my eyes open, not even closed, when something began to happen to me. Suddenly, what I thought all my life as me was all around. My inside had become the outside. I did not know which was me and which was not me. The air that was breathing, the rock on which I was sitting, the atmosphere around me, everything had become me. It was crazy because what was happening was indescribable. What was me had become so enormous, it was everywhere. I thought this lasted a few minutes, but when I came back to my normal senses, the sun had set and it was dark. My eyes were open, I was fully aware, but what I had considered as myself until that moment had disappeared. From the time I was 8 years of age, I had not shed a single tear, but now, as I was sitting, tears were flowing to the point where my shirt was wet. I have always been peaceful and happy, that has never been an issue, but here I was, drenched with a completely new kind of blissfulness. It was about 7:30 in the evening. About 4.5 hours had passed like this. When I went back home, this sort of experience became recurring. They became more and more frequent. For a period of time, it was a bit of a war between a phenomenal experience with a flood of memory and my super smart intellect. The intellect struggled. It would not give in. The only thing that my mind could tell me is that I was losing my balance. But the experience was so beautiful that I did not want to lose it. It was absolutely fantastic, but at the same time, somewhere I was thinking this could be some kind of madness going on because it was too good to be real. Questions about death did not come into the picture because life was happening in such proportions. But this experience made me realize that people don't die. They may have disappeared from your perception, but they don't die. They live on. I was flooded with lifetimes of memories and experience that made me realize that the past few lifetimes for me were about the same work, in the same place, and to some extent with the same people. It is this understanding of life and death that has shaped my life since then. In a way, death is a fiction created by ignorant people. Death is the creation of the unaware, because if you're aware, it is life, life, and life alone, moving from one dimension of existence to another.